the first part
Ake Chen?
of the
Okay,
ban.
there we go. Lone Druid, first ban.
Yeah.
There you go. I
Good
think that's
call.
absolutely warranted after this morning's performance from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
And Nature's Prophet. They got to ban
Or the
away
Ench or the Chen. Because a lot of the time, teams like to target Ake as well in these opening bans.
I don't think it...
It's no surprise that Alliance banned out the Doom and the Lion. KP and Chuan have been phenomenal on those two heroes.
Yeah. Chuan's line, I mean, that's been a pretty much
tournament.
go-to. You know, they've been picking that like Sin picks line. You know what I mean? It really is the hero that he excels on. It's going to be the Beastmaster. Okay, so more kind of your typical patch bans. I'll see what Alliance want to open with here. I'm hoping for some flash. I'd love to see another Alliance game where they run CK Tiny IO. You know, this kind of double IO pairing. That was brilliant to watch this morning. And
yeah, but I think Chaos Knight only works as a 5th pick for the
yeah,
most part.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't be picking that up towards the start of the series. Yeah, towards the start of the draft.
Wisp is versatile enough. You can grab it first pick here.
Wouldn't you want the Phoenix right now? Because otherwise you're going to give Kaka the Phoenix.
That's the Phoenix should be in very high contention between these two teams. There's no doubt about that.
But what are they doubting? Why are they not picking it? Like, what could they be talking about?
Whether or not they have the right kind of heroes to take a Phoenix. And what I mean by take a Phoenix is that they can actually... There are some teams that I think will show that they can play aggressive enough to beat a Phoenix. It takes really good laning phase, and it takes a lot of aggression. But I think there are some ways to be able to domineer over a Phoenix. I was trying to think of like what would be the best openers for Alliance against that, because I just don't think Alliance would pick it. I was thinking whether or not, like, is the Wisp better, or is the Furion better? Oh, Newbee, they got the Enchantress into their hands, so this actually changes their lineup quite a bit, right? They can't grab Phoenix, so they're going to lead with a Batrider, which is going to be a continual 3-4 ban by teams against Newbee.
Yeah.
So this is going to be, you asked whether or not, this is the example, right? It's not cookie cutter whatsoever when it comes to Newbee and their lineups. Their style is kind of set.
We said on day one, actually, I think Blitz made the point that actually they want that Enchantress, and most teams were banning that pretty much every single game.
I was going to say, on this land, they haven't been given the chance to have Enchantress at all. We've not seen a single game where Newbee's got it through. So it's just going to be interesting to see how they do with this. They played it a few times at the qualifiers, obviously with a lot of success there, of course, being part of the streak.
If you're going to let it through the draft, do it in game one. Because then at least then you figure out,
you
actually they are sick with it, and therefore we ban it next time.
Exactly. So it allows you to ban, obviously, this line, which a lot of the time did get through because people were prioritizing the Enchantress ban in the opening bans.
And with the Batrider pickup, they also keep themselves open because they played Batrider before this tournament, but they played it on Mu once and KP once. Obviously, they won both, but you don't know yet where it's going to go, and that's also a strength in their opening so far. Nature's Prophet, I mean, that's your Bulldog hero right there. They won with it this morning.
And I think it's smart to pick up as well. I mean, it's already obvious, Newbee opening with 2 bans on the off lane. It's very likely that we're going to follow through for it even more. So you're going to be forced into a bit of a corner with what kind of strat you can run around what Bulldog's going to be able to get through. So IO Nature's Prophet, as Alliance do like to do this. There's no doubt about that. This is very much them opening with 2 picks that they'll be very, very happy with.
And the Crystal
at this point,
ban.
Newbee probably want to ban away some of the better support heroes to back up the Wisp. I don't think it's a priority anymore to ban away the Wisp heroes like it used to be once upon a time. It was like, oh, they didn't get Wisp Tiny right away, let's ban away the Tiny or something. I don't think that's really a good idea anymore. There's too many different Wisp strategies, so I think it's better to ban away
I'd agree. Target those supports. Maybe even the Phoenix, as we're saying, the Phoenix is still there.
Yeah, but it doesn't fit for either lineup, most likely, because you don't have a whole lot of control. For example, like Alliance, they could run Wisp and Phoenix. It's a combination that is picked occasionally, but I think you have to have really strong cores that are able to provide disables, and you have a Nature's Prophet who only gives you Sprouts.
Well, they did run the Nature's Prophet IO Phoenix this morning against Secret.
I don't think it's like a really good opener unless you know you're going to get some incredibly strong disabling heroes. I don't know. I mean, maybe. Like, they had Chaos Knight and Tiny, right? Those are like...
Yeah, they drafted IO Nature's Prophet, Phoenix, Chaos Knight, Tiny. Yeah. So it's already one of the kind of aspects of that strat's taken out with the CK ban. I wonder if either team is going to be looking towards the Bristle ban. Both teams like it. Already it's something you can run alongside that IO.
Maybe they will get Phoenix for themselves.
What, Newbee? We'll take it away from... you're saying Alliance might still go for it here?
No, I'm saying maybe Newbee does it. if they ran Batrider mid, they could still have some really strong disabling cores. They're going to be running dual lanes anyway, which is more beneficial for Phoenix anyway.
Okay, Tuss coming through the cracks here. Something that Newbee obviously ran earlier this tournament. Game against Secret. Obviously was one of their wins, one of their victories. They did pair it up with the Bat, and they also finished that one off with the Invoker, the Gyro, and of course Twan's Disruptor. Obviously, two of those, well, the Gyro is banned out. Invoker is still there if Moo wants to slip it through, but I guess it does depend totally on the laning here for Newbee. And it's going to be the Witch Doctor here for Ake. So something to deal with the Enchantress. Obviously, they're already banning out ways that those ganks could have been dealt with the CM ban. So Alliance look for the other hero that's going to be pretty good against that kind of pressure. And obviously very nice any other time with an IO lineup, having that double heals on your core and just the pushing power following through with the Nature's Prophet Treants.
I really like Tusk in this matchup against Alliance. I feel like the Wisp Nature's Prophet opening offers you a lot of early aggression, like before level 6s are starting to be picked up. You can abuse these kind of heroes because they're just, they don't have a whole lot of impact when it comes to overwhelming sort of fights. Nature's Prophet is obviously able to be aggressive during the laning phase in that he's able to join other lanes, but those are sort of like ganking scenarios. They're not necessarily adept at being able to stop overwhelming aggression that Tusk provides. Tusk is one of those heroes that Liquid showed in previous patch how they could just run over heroes when they ganked mid.
Okay. Swanee for how this is a beef. But I really would like to see Newbee maybe close this draft off with the Moo Invoker. I think that could be absolutely brilliant for Newbee in this game.
How big are the chances for Alliance to go for a draw strat?
I think that's risky against Newbee. I think that's really risky against Newbee.
Too risky?
They can deal with that stuff.
I do not
They've got
like
the beef.
the idea.
They've got the war cry. They've got the in your face.
I don't like the idea of Wisp and Drove Strats in general. I think they're antithetical to each other. It just...
You don't like draw strats in general?
No, not with IO.
No.
Oh, with IO. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Slark. Slark is like kind of one of those like 3-4 bans that are probably ideal just because Slark is an incredibly good fourth pickup. It's going to be a hero that is still able to output magic damage against Enchantress. It deals with Batrider because you've got Dark Pact. It's a good fighting hero overall that longevity really plays into, so I feel like this patch is pretty beneficial. And there were some small changes as well to certain items like Silver Edge, way more stat efficient for Slark than it used to be. All that Alliance have to do is be able to buy enough space that they get the Slark to a point where he actually lasts long enough in team fights to beat out Sven. Right now, Newbee have a very pointed mid-game draft, and Alliance just picked the better late-game carry, and now have to get an incredibly good like space creator in their
I think they would have
S4.
loved to get that quap. I really think S4 would have loved to have that quap that Newbee have just banned out. That could have done exactly, as you said, making the plays, making the space. You've already got, a few targets like the Edge that you're going to need to burst down, and Queen of Pain would have been ideal here for Alliance. And
Is there a reason they didn't ban Puck, though?
I think Queen would have been better than Puck in this situation, in terms of just damage bursts that you're going to need to take down some of these backliners. And I guess you're looking already at a lineup where the Bat and the Sven are capable of buying the BKB, so in that sense, you're less worried about that.
Because of Veil, though, the Puck got a pretty big increase in damage.
That's true.
So I think they're kind of similar in that regards, and I think Puck is just a little bit more favored.
I mean, I think there's definitely the chance he could just go back.
Maybe they have a good matchup for Puck in mind. We still, I mean, it might be KP Batrider, and then Moose, Invoker is still in the pool.
Well, it looks like Alliance think it's Moo Batrider. They've banned out KP's Darks here.
Yeah, that's what I was leading to, is the fact that if they are going to leave, the difference between Queen of Pain and Puck would be how the mid matchup is going to fare. Yeah. And I believe the Batrider does better against Puck. I'm not convinced of that.
Oh, Ember Spirit. Now,
okay.
That is something that we haven't seen from Alliance for a while, it feels like.
I thought they had to get it. I think that Alliance simply needed to be faster. And Ember Spirit still comes online relatively early. This definitely ensures the late game for them and does give some turtling power, but I'm more concerned about 20 to 25 minutes that the mid hero is not going to get enough done, and Newbee are going to be able to rack up this advantage that even if you do get Battle Fury and maybe even a Chrysalis for the Ember Spirit, it may not matter. He might not be able to put a stop to that push that Newbee are going to be able to insert 30 minutes or so, and ultimately Alliance won't be able to find enough time for their late game to come online.
Moo with this, well, we are assuming it to be either Moo or KPs depending on the laning situation for the bat. I mean, you've seen an Ember Cap. Are you happy laning a bat against an Ember Spirit in the middle?
As Bat Rider?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's fine. He's sticking napalm. But the question is there a better off lane? Is there a better mid left over for Newbee, or is there a better off laner
lanes have been banned out. That's right. They're a bit limited. If
yeah, because there's there's like Tide. I don't think that's particularly strong. It's like some of the laning phase is okay. Slark is just really annoying. What other offlaners are left?
They played Tide in that last game that they lost against OG for certain.
It's like
For Newbee?
They Alchemist. So it is going to be the Batrider off lane, even though that's not what Alliance expected, or what they were worried about, forcing them into the other situation. So
I think it's more
in the mid.
I think it's more the fact that they probably considered that there was going to be a Batrider mid, but they judged the same thing. They were thinking like, what are there better offlaners left? And I think Darkseer was very clear, like that kind of hero will allow them to go high ground just because of Guardian Greaves and things like that. So.
Okay, just very quickly in one word.
Newbee.
Newbee?
Alliance.
Newbee.
Okay, 2 for Newbee, 1 for Alliance. Let's see how our final series of the day shapes up in game number 1 as we head to our commentary team.
Thank you, Red Eye. That's right, the final series here, Newbee going up against the Alliance. I'm Gareth, joining me as Gods, and this one should pan out to be a pretty interesting one. S4 Ember Spirit, I don't think anyone in their right mind would have called that.
No, that's like a hero you just don't see S4 on very often. It's definitely in his arsenal, something he has played from time to time, but by no means a go-to for this Alliance team. I've got a big smile on my face. I'm just so excited to see these two teams go head-to-head. One of them's getting eliminated. That's the sad part, though.
It's the first time you've been out here. You've seen everything live, the intros and the teams come out, and the fans behind us, honestly, you can hear them all screaming for Alliance. I think it's about 80% Alliance favored. There's a few Chinese fans in the crowd with the little signs.
They're there, though. They're there.
There was the lad with the iPad, with all the Enchantress and well, what else was there? There's the Lena.
We need some Australian fans, though, Durka. We're the Aussie fans for KP.
For KP, yeah, absolutely.
There's at least one here.
Game is underway. Let's get ourselves into that one, shall we? So, game 1, a loader over on that Slark. Already picking up the Stout Shield, but it's early movement into that Radiant jungle by Newbee, and that final pick, Alchemist. We were thinking about maybe an Invoker, the DK was still in the pool, but Moo, he's going to be farming heavily through this one. And I guess when you've got Alliance here with the really strong 3-core lineup, the Slark, Ember, and Nature's Prophet, you do want someone who can keep tabs on that money.
Yeah, I believe the interpretation by Newbee with their last pick was that Alliance aren't going to be playing like too fast tempo. They have gone a bit greedy in the sense that you've got this mid that is a tempo controller, but is more of a late game oriented one in the Ember Spirit. So they decided to get a secondary kind of late game carry in the Alchemist. They're going to have Alk and Sven, both who can really power farm. So if Alliance don't play fast paced, don't put pressure on Newbee, they're going to be in trouble this game.
Already EGM with the D-ward, look at that. No nonsense from him, straight out of the gates into that. And
Alliance's wards are both centered around this mid lane. They are very wary of what the Enchantress brings to the table, want to be able to scout out those rotations, protect the mid lane from ganks from the Radiant jungle as well. They basically put 2 wards that see the rotations from both jungles towards mid, so very interesting approach from Alliance.
Well, Ember Spirit is one of those heroes that, level kind of 1 to 3 can be a little bit easy to gank and a bit susceptible to getting taken down, but he does hit one of his peaks at kind of level 8, level 9 when he gets the bigger Flame Guard and extended duration on the Searing Chains. We'll see what S4 does with that, but down the bottom, how is that Batrider doing right now? And, well, not too great so far. He's actually dragged the creep wave back. He's against the defensive tri-lane. So Arke, we're going to be zoning him out as much as he can. Slark is one of those natural heroes, very good at dealing with the Batrider, getting the sticky napalm off yourself.
Yeah, and the Enchantress found an early Sated Tormentor, so already sending that down bottom to do some harass with the shockwaves. He then finds a Dark Troll, so very good creeps early on to Chuan's Enchantress in the jungle. Hasn't used a smoke. It looks like he just wants to use the creeps for now to maintain some lane control and try and get KP his level 2. Once Bat's level 2, he can go jungle, but problem is he's going to get ganked.
Oh, he's trying to TP out. That's a sneaky one, but it's not going to work, mate. Tries it, but Chuan was on his way. You look at that, and Enchantress was trying to move down that.
Loaded did a really nice job setting up that gank. He leads with the pounce and then the cast follow-up. Often not easy to hit that just straight-up pounce initiation, but gets the setup, and now Chuan has rotated down bottom, but he's going to wait for the Bat to get back in the lane, and this is still a level 1 Batrider, who now doesn't have TP as well, so the fact he fails to TP home hurts him twice there. that he gives up the kill and he's got no TP to get back out the lane.
It's a difficult proposition for him to stay around now. With Batriders in the past, we've seen them go into the jungle and just stack and farm and get early blink daggers. But recently, Batriders, since the buffs over to neutral creeps, they've kind of been forced to stick into lane. Now they can stick in napalm and right-click down creeps, but it's a lot like Darkseer nowadays. You pressure lanes, you try and stick on supports, find a kill hero there, but staying alive is the name of the game for Batriders.
Very low to the neutral creeps. Will force out a cast, but that's some good money going the way of Alliance, killing last. Well, okay, they missed the second last hit, but they get one of the neutrals. They get experience for both. So overall, will be a happy defensive trial lane for Alliance. And looking at the off lane, Admiral Bulldog is level 3.5. Almost has money for phase boots. Has done incredibly well, just pulling the creep wave from behind the tower, and that's where the big discrepancy early on between the two teams is the off laners.
Look at him, 12 last hits. He's got almost as much as a Sven does. 13-2. Well, S4, he's bullying mid a little bit, 10-7 to the 10-3, but I guess Ember Spirit is pretty good at last hitting in there, getting the Flame Guard out as well. But Alchemist, does he have any stacks being built up for him just yet? I don't think so, because Chuan, he's been busy with the bottom lane, and the top support, the Tuskar, who usually we see in this kind of roaming role, right, has been sitting up at top trying to get himself levels and experience, and so far he's succeeded in that. Level 2 ready for him, as Alliance preempting any kind of rotations or ganks coming through towards them, even scanning into their own jungle looking for this Enchantress, not realizing where he is exactly.
I like that they're being proactive for some of those unconventional plays that Enchantress can make, but this time around not going to be catching him out, and the first smoke coming out from Chuan will be headed towards bottom lane. They've got Vision of Ake, but not the easiest gank to get because of the cask.
Yeah, they'll lead with a Centaur, but there's nothing to catch. And KP wasn't in the position, didn't have any sticky napalm stacks up on the Witch Doctor to actually build things up there for him. Now, Moo, what's he up to? He's got his Soul Ring, so it's going to be the regular build, but he's getting gone on here. The Searing Chains, now the TP in from Bulldog, but Moo, he's equally got reactions coming through from Kaka, the Acid Spray and the right clicks. Will not finish off EGM. Statement of intent there from Newbee. You're going to try and gank us, we will react in force.
Yeah. I was looking around, like, waiting for Bulldog to make that first rotation. Level 3 with phase boots. It's not like a really big key timing for the Prophet in terms of levels, but just having the phase boots early on gives you a big boost in your right-click damage output, so either mid lane or bottom lane suddenly becomes a lot more vulnerable to those rotations.
Well, actually, a little bit surprised at how well S4 is doing here against Moo. They both got Quelling. Well, actually, only one of them's got a Quelling Blade. I thought maybe S4 had one. He's got the Flame Guard just ripping through these creeps, while Moo, even with the Acid Spray, is not struggling, but still a little bit of a deficit here. He's actually going to be pretty much 2 creep waves behind. But Chuan, he's poking his head around with the creeps, looking for a go onto S4. Not going to have anything going there.
And this is the first time we're seeing Chuan kind of assist the mid lane. He sent most of his creeps towards that bottom lane, which is where S4 has had a much better time than you typically expect against the Alchemist.
What's the Tusk up to? So they've started stacking now, it looks like, for the Alchemist. And Kaka. So often we've seen Newbee smoke up very early on, abuse these smokes, always carrying one on at least one of their supports. And they love this kind of dual roaming combination where they go and dominate lanes and destroy them. But so far, Alliance, it's been, like you said, that kind of proactive, preemptive movement from the Wisp, always making sure that S4 is not under any real trouble. And as well as bot lane, not able to be ganked because it's a Slark with a Witch Doctor there, and Bulldog playing very passively back in his own jungle. So Alliance have done this very good sort of barrier creation where they say, Newbee, you've got good roaming heroes, you've got good laning heroes, but we're just going to sit back. We'll wait for you to move into us.
I think on the Newbee side, though, the positive is that they're not all in on the ganks. They're actually sitting back, like you kind of mentioned. Tusk hasn't actually gone for a single smoke play just yet. He's just been sitting behind top lane, in the jungle doing pulls and stacks. Now he comes mid a bit, but he's not looking for kills. He's looking to keep his cause alive, and I think what Newbee recognized about this game is a slow, passive farming game favors them. They've got Sven and Alchemist, two of basically the best power farmers in the game, and their offlaner is
They're jumping in onto mid. Oh, no, they're not. S4. Yeah. He remnanted across and gets the Searing Chains on 2. Just a bit of a prod there, saying, you know what, Newbee, I see you. I know what you're up to. Don't stick around in my mid lane. But Sven, he's just skyrocketed to the top of the last hit chart. How? I think he must have taken that large cap stack they built up for themselves. Down at bottom, Chuan dropping low, and with the Wisp pulls, loaded with EGM. Find the kill back onto that Enchantress. And he's getting a bit too big for his boots, is that Chuan, into the Radiant jungle. I've got vision of every movement he makes.
Yeah, that's a small little punish there. I still think Alliance overall aren't really doing enough to bully the farmers of Newbee, but that's something that will change once they get their levels, once they have Relocate online. So for Alliance, they're going to have to up the tempo sometime in the next 3 to 5 minutes, because otherwise Newbee are just going to start pulling away in terms of overall farm.
Now, what do you think about the Iron Talon on
Power
Slark?
top, by the way.
Oh, there we go. Searing Chains gets the tower. Sure enough, Howl will try and sprint away, but the cask will stop him in his tracks. Now, Newbee, they lose their big farmer, but he did get the tower, and it looks like he bought out as well the Helm of Iron Will back in his stash.
Okay, that's overall a kind of evenish trade. Probably slightly Alliance favored, even though they're going to lose that tower inevitably regardless. So the fact they can get up there and get a Sven kill in exchange for it ultimately does really help S4 take off, because he's the one who actually ends up getting the last hit for the kill as well. So,
But yeah, what do you think about the Iron Talon on Slark?
it's fine. It's just a farming item more than anything, and probably something that Lotus has played around with and really likes. I don't think there's any kind of melee safe lane carries do get a lot out of having an Iron Talon.
A poor man's
so.
Midas kind of thing? Like instead
Yeah.
of expending that much money for a Midas, you can just like dip back into the jungle, farm through with Iron Talon a bit.
I imagine there's a good chance he might not go Midas now that he's got the Iron
Yeah.
Talon, but we'll wait and see. This is such a good Midas game because you're versing the greedy Sven and Alchemist. If you're going to keep up in farm, having a Midas becomes kind of more and more essential.
If he does go back into the jungle, these two supports, Witch Doctor and Wisp, you know, the Wisp maybe relies a little more on the experience to get that level 6. Do you think EGM gets a bit of time down on the safe lane?
Yes, I think EGM, his level 6 timing is going to be crucial for when Alliance want to start applying pressure on the map. So being able to get Relocate online as early as possible, it combos well with S4 because he can roam around by himself, grab his beloved S4 runes, go into the enemy jungle, grab an invis or something, and then all he has to do is find 1 or 2 heroes by himself, and he's going to relocate to back him up with the Slark.
But S4 does have a choice here. And we've seen a lot of boots of travel on the old Ember Spirit. But if they do want to apply early game pressure, there's always a chance that, you know, he goes for that Treads build, a little bit tankier, a little bit more early game focused. Or do you think he wants to apply even more global pressure and have the BOTs and the Relocate and the Nature's Prophet TP?
I prefer the travels. The Treads is cheaper and comes online faster, but the pressure you put on the map by having Boots of Travel is much better than the Treads. It's that global threat. Where
All of a sudden, 4 heroes appear
Yeah.
from nowhere.
You've got Boots of Travel and the Relocate +1 and the Teleport from the Nature's Prophet.
All 5 heroes get there.
Yeah, great synergy between the entire Alliance draft if you go into that Boots of Travel pickup. So I don't think the fact he's already gotten Aquila, Wand, Poor Man's Shield, he's got all these cheap cost-effective items. You don't need another on top of that in the Treads.
Makes perfect sense. While KP, he is racking up a fair amount of gold with 1,300 saved up. That Blink Dagger is not far away, but you just look at the strength here of these lanes. Sure, Tier 1 tower top dropped, but Admiral Boltlog, he's allowed to farm. S4 is farming aggressively mid lane. Bot lane, Slark has pushed his wave, dips into the jungle, farms through a camp there. While Newbee, they're all in their jungle, kind of. You know, 2 people behind Moo, making sure that his stacks do not get contested by Ember Spirit, because that's a big thing Alliance could look to do. While Howl, he's alone up at top, but no, like you said, it's kind of okay for Newbee. They're biding their time, waiting to hit these moments where Armlet's done for your Sven at this point in time. And I guess you just kind of wait for the KP Blink Dagger to come off.
Yeah, they're going to wait for the Blink before they make any aggressive moves, because in the meantime, they're just straight up winning this game without a single kill on the board. Newbee are ahead by about close to 1,000 overall net worth, and that's only going to continue to get bigger and bigger as Moo maxes out Greevil's Greeds, continues to farm jungle stacks, Sven continues to farm stacks. He's going to have Ancients as well if he wants to farm them. Tron can stack them for him, so across the board, Newbee are just getting a lot more farm on the map, even though they're down on kills.
Where is Ake going? Checking out some stacks.
Maybe drop some wards.
He does have one observer ward. He sees Moo right now. He doesn't have Maledict or level 6.
Oh, Relocate just came online with Io.
Oh man, they see this. They could go for this. Who's Io with?
S4 he's right behind S4.
Oh, they might wait for Moo's ulti to actually wane an Arcane. His Invis rune's wearing off, so they'll look elsewhere for now. Mid, Kaka is caught out a touch. There's the cask thrown through onto the Tusk, and S4. Oh, Snowball will save the Tusk for now, and Hal turns back with a stun onto EGM. There's the God Strength and slams into the Wisp. There's only one, though. Here's going to be Hal. Well, Bulldog somehow from miles away throws that one projectile to kill off the Tusk. So 1 for 1. But any kill at this point, you've got to say, well, Newbee, they can go back to farming. Alchemist wasn't touched. He just gets through his stacks. Batrider's alone in bot lane. Favored towards them.
Yeah, I would say not just favored, but like quite that whole exchange heavily favors them because the Sven TP's in, but he secures a kill for his team. He doesn't go down. The Alchemist farming the jungle the whole time, so Alliance need to be the ones getting more right now because they are farming a lot slower than the side of Newbee. So for Newbee, they're not going to be looking to get kills. They're just purely going to react to the aggression of Alliance. And it's great to see that Hao is ready to TP in as a counter gank. He's only got 1 point in the stun, but anytime he's got God Strength with an armor, they commit the stuns in the early like searing chains onto the tusk, so he can TP in and not have to worry about any aggression onto himself.
12-minute Shadow Blade there from Loda on that Slark. I guess that's the Iron Talon for you.
Yep.
Rushes straight into it, so that's a good early aggressive item. It's coming out on the courier, so you can only expect that Alliance will use that relocate at some point, so maybe catch out someone. Mu is probably going to be the big target. Wait for his ultimate to wear off, get some vision aggressive into the enemy area of the map, because right now Alliance don't really see too much about what Newbee are doing. They don't see stacks, they don't see farming patterns. They are very deep in their own side of the map.
Yeah, I don't think this is the kind of game that Alliance were expecting out of Newbee coming in. I think that's the scariest thing about watching this game is for other teams who are like watching Newbee, they're like, whoa, we haven't seen this Newbee yet. This is the sit back and just farm our way to victory. It's almost like EG-esque in the way they're just prioritizing farming efficiency over everything else. But so far it's working out fantastic. They don't have to go for kills at all. And that's where I think Loda's made, he had two decisions. Go play the farm battle and go for a minus, or go all out aggression. That's what he's doing with this Shadow Blade pickup.
It's 13 minutes in and Newbee still haven't taken down 2 of the tier 1 towers. It's kind of insane looking at it in comparison to what we've had from them before, where it's just 5-man group up, take objectives, and look to bully people out of the game. Now, there is your bat blink, and KP is going to set himself up for something good here.
Now, to talk about what Alliance can do, they are going to have Boots of Travel up now on S4. So you combine the Boots of Travel with a Nature's Prophets global presence who has phase drums, can go into a mech if he wants to, the relocate. This is where Alliance are kind of reach their first big peak. This is like a significant increase in just the amount of pressure they can apply on the map. They can. The problem was mid lane when they had that 1-4 exchange was that they aren't able to bring in enough heroes. If they can bring in their entire team in really quickly, they're going to just overrun Newbee at their towers.
What is that? Do they know that Hao is there? I think he might have spotted out, and Hao turns into Ake, but Alliance, they're ready and waiting for this. They give up the Witch Dog to Hao, TPing out. They don't have a stun, do they? They come with a searing chains. They caught him. S4 somehow gets the lockdown onto the Sven. And Newbee. Can they go for this, though? Their big damage dealer's not there. Alchemist is still mid, and Sven's gone.
Well, just in time was S4 to cancel that TP out, and if not for that, it would have been a absolute disaster. Sven going into 3 heroes, getting a kill, TPing out. Alliance find a much-needed punish onto it, but Lowe's been spending pretty much the last 2.5 minutes since getting the Shadow Blade just looking around for kills. Finally finds his first one to go on the board. He needs to continue this aggression.
Just watching Bulldog fake TP into the middle of them, and Batrider gets the Invis Rune, and S4, he doesn't have a Remnant out. They'll just walk it off. It's all perfectly fine.
14-minute Radiance from Mu.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah, not
With
bad.
an armlet as well.
And looking around, like, this is, as far as pulling Ag Scepters go, something to always kind of take into consideration as you go ultra late game. It's okay for the side of Newbee. Batrider Zag's is a pretty decent upgrade. There's two melee cores on the side of Alliance. Enchantresses is been nerfed a bit, but still very good, so...
Sven's isn't bad.
Yeah, it's not bad. Definitely not bad.
It's one of those things where you don't see it very often, so you might be like, yeah.
Sven would never bite himself, unless he's like a support Sven, but...
A support Sven? Oh, we haven't seen that in a long time. Back in the days of support Sven, support Alchemist, they'll jump on Kaka up at top, the snowball forward. The Alliance just want to try and draw this one out, drag him back, and they'll TP Bulldog in as well to get some of the experience and gold. Alliance 6-2, 15 minutes in. They're getting these little pickoffs here and there, but it feels like it's measly in comparison to the gold that Newbee are accruing over on this Alchemist. And I cancel TP there, actually, down towards bottom. S4 still freely moving around the map, and another smoke from Newbee. This is the thing. They like exploiting the vision. They'll jump onto Arcane. A support kill is still a kill. They'll gain gold, but more importantly, they'll keep a hero of Alliances off the map for 30 seconds.
Yeah, and Alliance right now, like, they find a kill hero there, but they're yet to take a single tower on the map. They haven't got the best lineup to do so. Just the Nature's Prophet, a capable kind of split pusher, but even at this stage, we're not going to see Alliance able just to group up as 5. Even when they find a pickoff, it's these primarily supports that they're killing, so unable to transition out of these pickoffs into towers, and that's going to be the next big goal for Alliance, is get kind of bigger hero pickoffs, kill off the Alchemist, kill off the Sven, and do so close to Newbee's side of the map. If you can find a pickoff and then get a T1 tower out of it, it's going to set them up to perhaps take Roshan. Right now, the entire map is being controlled by Newbee. Their entire jungle is yet to really be invaded. We haven't seen Alliance get up any aggressive wards, and
it's only going to get worse, right?
Yeah, because Alliance, they pretty much got 3 defensive wards to kind of protect their lanes, but they're not really in a huge threat of being ganked. Other than the Batrider Blink Lasso, it's Newbee primarily wanting to play a farm game, but because of all these T1 towers being up, it's really hard for Alliance to put themselves in a position to get aggressive wards going.
Alchemist has hit the 10k mark at 16 minutes. It doesn't look like Moo is stopping anytime soon.
It is a very clear, like, 2-core versus 3-core lineup. If you look at just the net worths, it's Sven and Alchemist very farm, but the Batrider that takes a big drop-off because he's got no jungle to farm with Alchemist and Sven taking all the stacks, which means KP is going to kind of struggle to keep up in terms of overall farm this game.
Oh, unfortunate for S4 there. He catches the Centaur with the chains. I do like this from Slark. Lotus picked up an Echo Saber on the Slark. Good stats, good amount of damage, but it's the double hits getting those stacks up of the Essence Shift back away from the Sven or the Alchemist, and I think especially the Alchemist who does suffer in those kind of extended team fights.
Yeah, we see Echo Saber similarly on the Sven, who's like the obvious hero that this item benefits a lot, but a good pickup on Loda, like you mentioned. Good stats, so we'll see what the next moves from Alliance is going to be. They're close to finishing Orchid on Admiral Bulldog. Just looking to have that insta-silence for Bat from when he tries to blink initiate in, for when you can catch out someone like Sven or Alchemist. Not an obviously amazing Orchid game, but just a nice item that can transition you also into a pseudo late game carry because of the damage output you get from this item.
And the potential Bloodthorn pickup up against this Alchemist with the Radiance. I mean, he's going to get Manta at some point and obviously be able to pop himself out of it, but right now he's got his boot to travel and he's still a little bit distant from that Manta style. But Newbee, once again, under the guise of invisibility for a little bit as they are going to go through their own jungle. They know that a couple of members of Alliance have actually encroached into their spot. I think they saw Loda pop invis there, just under that Observer ward. But
and it's a good way to approach this. It's the 3 non-farming heroes smoking up together, and then they smoke towards one of their cores. They either smoke towards the Alchemist or the Sven, and hope to find a fight. It's better to smoke towards the Sven, though, because the Alchemist can boot to travel in.
I think they've found EGM, KP, holding on to that jump ability, and there we go. Lasso into damage, and Sven will come in, secure the kill.
Just for Newbee, finding supports just gives them a lot more value than Alliance finding these support kills because it's Newbee creating space and time for the big carries to farm. Their late game with Alchemist and Sven is just getting scarier and scarier as these heroes pull ahead in terms of overall net worth. So Alliance going to have their work cut out for them. It's a very slow-paced game, which is something Alliance are typically okay with, but normally there's a lot more kind of just general push potential out of their draft when they're playing this slow-paced style. They hit their like 15 to 20-minute Chen DK push timing or something. This draft doesn't quite hit the same windows that we see.
Usually Alliance at least gives a little bit of, a push and a shove. There's a bit of back and forth between the two teams when Alliance does sit back. But right here, it's a little bit passive from both teams. Now, when do you think Alliance will go for one of these tower pushes? Is it going to be when Newbee show on the map and say, hey, look, we've got 3 heroes down here?
It's not an easy... They can't just straight up brute force down towers. It's not going to... Their lineup doesn't function that way. They have to get pickoffs and split push. That's what the Nature's Prophet and the IO Relocate gives them. So it's going to be a much scrappier game plan from Alliance where you just try and keep Newbee split up as much as possible and isolate the cores. If you can find Hao farming alone, if you can find Moo on the Alchemist farming alone, those are the kind of kills you want to get. We see a very interesting pickup from Hao, by the way. He goes for the Shadow Blade. Ooh. This is an item that's great against the Ember Spirit because you can God Strength and Shadow Blade in. And the problem with the Blinken is he can react to the Stormbolt and dodge it. But with the Shadow Blade, you throw the stun out of invis from melee range, and you can almost always catch an Ember Spirit before he fire Remnants out.
Will he be able to solo kill him, do you think, with a stun and God Strength with the Echo Saber?
If he preemptively God Strength, 100%. If he has to God Strength after the stun, maybe not. Hard to say for sure. We'll maybe find out soon because he's kind of setting up for this bottom lane, and S4. Uh-oh.
Hao has been cutting through trees for the past 5 or 6 minutes. Up at top, he was thinking about it. Down at bottom, S4. He shows with a sleight of fist. God Strength, Shadow Blade, Howl, exactly like you were saying. God is going to go in for one slam, then the Stormbolt. Where's the Echo Saber? He doesn't need it. Doesn't need the second one. Only needed the first. Double tap.
He got a bit greedy going for the Shadow Blade hit, but he was instant with the stun afterward. And if you can get away with it, then by all means.
Quick cast is an amazing thing. Oh, that's also bought some time for Moo. His Manta Star, I thought it'd be a little bit further away, but 20 minutes in and you've got this 16k net worth almost on the Alchemist. And finally, a tower goes down for Alliance, but it's denied towards mid. They got the one up at top a little while ago, but they're not really gaining too much ground here. The foothold that Alliance had in the first 3 or 4 minutes, it is dwindling and dwindling as he will also dwindle in the burning fires of Batrider.
And if you're playing like one of these supports on Newbie side, you're like, man, I'm dirt poor. My character's taking all the farm on the map. But you're like, wait a second, we got an Alchemist. If this game goes long enough,
I get an axe!
I'm going to double my net worth. Yeah. Like Tuska's like, let me kick some people. Punching them get a bit boring. Let's go full MMA mode and bring out the Walrus Punch as well. Move with a Manta Radiance, 21 minutes in.
Oh, that's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. All right, look at the Ember Spirit now. He's saved up about 3,300 gold, I think, over on S4. That Battle Fury, he's not bought any components yet, gods.
Oh, he's got one. He's got the Quelling Blade, you know, Dirk.
The little one.
The staple one, yeah.
The little one, yeah.
It could just be a casual one. But Loda finding a kill on KP's Batrider will help out a little bit. But yeah, it feels like Battle Fury is just going to be the name of the game for S4. The other alternative you could have gotten if you wanted to go for it early is the Blink Dagger if you really want to prioritize pickoffs, which their lineup needs to do. But I think S4 recognizing this game is just going at the tempo it is, having the farming item, and the high ground defensive Battle Fury is going to be your best bet.
And you don't need any defensive items. There's no need for a Manta or a Eul's. There's no silencers. There's nothing really that's going to screw you over that. Chuan.
Linken's is like kind of nice because it stops the Sven doing what he just did at bottom lane and also stops the Batrider initiation. So
True.
But you don't want to first item Linken's. That comes much further down the track.
Snowball save there. Kaka keeps Chuan alive, and how he Shadowbladed up comes through the shards, blocking EGM. But Alliance, they're actually keeping their teammate alive. Oh, how trapped in a Sprout, the bane of Sven's existence. S4 chains through. He's got a slight as well. Remnants, where are they? The slam comes out, but Sven has dropped a Newbie. And a buyback from EGM's Wisp, proving to be a vital move there from Alliance.
The Ice Shard's just working a bit against the Sven, and then the Sprout from Bulldog completely locking Sven down. Maledict plus Death Ward doing decent damage, although just a level on Maledict, so it was pretty much entirely the Death Ward. Not the fight that Newbie were looking for in the bottom lane, and a much needed Tier 1 tower plus couple of kills going Alliance's way. Even a buyback coming into play there from Chuan.
Still can't believe this Alchemist, though. He's nearly finished off his Octarine core.
What? He just finished the
He just finished Manta. I know. I know.
I hear Alchemist was nerfed in the recent patch.
Oh, yeah, of course he was, yeah. Definitely nerfed. Nerfed into the ground.
I think Moo perhaps proving the patch log wrong, but...
Direct line to Ice Frog to reverse things just for this game, apparently. Kaka.
Somebody check his PC.
Oh, there's admins in there watching him. I'm pretty sure they know what's up. Unless the little hack he's got is written in Chinese and I've got no idea how to read it. But Alchemist is just farming out of his mind right now. And there's Kaka tanking up, treads, bracer. Looks like he might head into some drums. Just nothing fancy. There's no need for a blink tag or anything here. Just make sure that you can land your snowballs, use your skill set, and keep yourself alive as long as you possibly can. And now is the battle of the wards and the D-wards constantly through here into this dire jungle. Newbie will get the better of that exchange.
They make sure that their own jungle farm is protected as much as possible. When you've got this Alchemist plus Sven draft where you're just all about the farming efficiency, it's definitely the way to go.
Between these two teams, I don't think too many people would have thought that it would be this passive between them.
Yeah, I would perhaps slightly from the Alliance side, perhaps with some of their strategies.
The Tricore.
Newbie, it's like you thought they'd be running at Alliance, trying to 5-man push down buildings with 3 tanky frontline cores. They have 2 very tanky cores, but they're playing a much more late game farm oriented strategy around it.
Like even when Newbie have picked up the Naga Siren and gone for a little bit of late game security, it's been security. It's not been a kind of staple of their draft. Yeah, they've got to deal with these Manta illusions already coming through, and Scan, is that from Alliance, is going to actually scout out a number of heroes. Well, they know a hero is there, but Newbie, they've been rustled there towards the mid lane. That just signals Alliance to actually move back and bunker down in their own jungle and make sure they don't get caught out. And this is the thing, they don't see too much out on the map. They know that Newbie's not showing. All the lanes are pushing into their wave, no one's farming mid lane, and they've not spotted anyone actually move towards like bot rune spot, towards Roshan. So they know that they're smoked up, they know that they're maybe in Roche, they know they're somewhere looking for an opening. So Alliance, well played, just sitting back defensively, and I guess Loda to try and scout out the smoke, and he'll do just that. Do they have any vision though?
They had a sentry, but they really need a gem to deal with this Shadowblade at this stage of the game. The smoke pops, they back off. The nice thing about Alliance having no vision is that it's very hard for them to get into Roche to contest this. It drops incredibly fast to God Strength as well as the Acid Spray. They don't even have to commit the God Strength, it looks like. So Alliance are kind of just, it seems, settled to the fact that they can't contest Roshan unless they smoke up now, which they're going to do, so they're making a play towards the pit. They've got to get here fast, though.
That was a late decision. Bulldog TP'd towards the Ancients, and it looked like he was going to start farming over there, but moving forward, Treants out, stolen by Chuan. They'll look for the Enchantress, find him. Moo runs through. The concoction onto EGM is good, and the last one to Loda. No dog pack just yet. The stun, there's the God Strike, cleave through too, but the Sprout holds him in. Slog still dead, and the Death Ward is not going to do a flipping thing. It's tickling away at the Alchemist. And Alliance, they will retreat. Losing that Slark like that, how? How did he do it? Well, Bujidao, I do not know.
Well, Lions were just kind of stuck with a tough choice there. Just give up Roshan or go in somewhat with limited vision. They had the one ward kind of scouting across the river, but they couldn't quite see the positioning of the key Newbee heroes, and the Batrider especially, and as a result, Loda caught by a really well-timed lasso. KP making sure he doesn't Dark Pact it off, and as a result, it's Newbee securing themselves an Aegis and pulling further ahead here. Another 4.5k gold already on Moo. He's almost 6-slotted. We're 27 minutes in. He can buy that 6 item. He can then start pulling Acceptors. He may even just start pulling Acceptors now if he really wants, but...
Does he even need a 6 item?
By the way, how I love it. He's going into Battle Fury. I'm like, this is something which has been kind of theory crafted against the Nature's Prophet Sprout because of how good it is against the Sven, and everyone remembers the infamous Arteezy moments at the Shanghai Major. And this is the way where you can have a 6-slotted Sven with the ability to get out of Sprout. It's not the best item on Sven, but it almost becomes an essential one in a game like this.
Yeah, you've got to remember, it's not a farming item. It's not anything like that. It is pretty much 95% down to that Quelling Blade component.
It's an items that still look so funny. Shadow Blade, Armlet, Battle Fury, Echo Saber,
no
Sven.
Blink, no BKB, no SNY.
Coming to a pub game near you soon.
Oh dear Lord, please. Please. How going to be ruining things for everyone? Well, Newbee, they are 2 kills down, but at this point that doesn't mean too much, and looks like Alchemist with a plate mail. Yeah, full Shiver's Guard is done for him. These fights are going to be incredibly difficult for Alliance because 3 out of their 5 heroes rely quite heavily on the right-click attacks, and of course EGM's Wisp, a hero that wants to pump people's attack speed up, and is going to get punished quite a fair amount by that.
Yeah, this item just synergizes really nicely with the Alchemist's skill set. You get the slows to help guarantee, you get the stuns off. It's got the shorter cooldown because of the Octarine core.
Oh
so
yeah.
I really like, we've seen a much more of a trend towards the Shiver's Guard over the Assault Crest on the Alchemist lately.
Yeah, we used to see a little bit of Blade Mail, you know, Ferrari tried that a little bit. Kind of swapping that one in.
Well, this high ground push is hard to defend. 6-slotted Alchemist and a Sven who's kind of 6-slotted. I mean, arguable there. With an Aegis, though.
They've got 2 high ground heroes who can stand up there with impunity almost. And then they've got Batrider to counter-initiate. Kaka maybe to try and save with a snowball. I don't think Newbee are done just yet. Alliance, all of a sudden, Newbee come out the gates and they're knocking on your front door. Loda, he's thinking about going into How, and they will try and pop this Aegis. Sven turns, the armor toggle through as well, the stun onto EGM. And Loda, he's left here without a paddle. They're going to try and slam him, but KP on the front lines manages to slow things down and have lost EGM while Moo just sprints forward, running through the ranks of Alliance, looking for the hits onto S4, and he nearly got him. Pops the Manta, but the pounce, there we go. Leashing, holding him in, that Death Ward doesn't do a damn thing. S4 on the front lines, but Moo is still tanking through everything. But Alliance throw at them, and the racks in the meantime, gods. The racks have fallen.
Newbee just make it look easy here. They're going to try to be a bit of a rebuttal here as Newbee goes to retreat, but Newbee just spent the first 28 minutes farming. They get themselves an Aegis, then they're pushing high ground. That's what this game has come down to. As far as a game of timings go, this is the best example imaginable, because Newbee just saw this timing where Alchemist is going to be 6-slotted, we're going to have an Aegis on our Sven, who's our big high ground sieger, and there's nothing Alliance can do. They don't have the damage output to kill one of those cores, let alone both.
They don't have that catch and drag either, like the Batrider offers for Newbee. They can jump in, take someone, pull them out of the fight into the firing lines of the rest of the team of Newbee. But Alliance, if they're defending this high ground, they have to go and walk into and walk through the Alchemist and through the Sven to try and get into that back lines. And I do wonder, maybe they could have tried something like a relocate into the back. But at that point, it was already too late. They allowed Newbee to get up onto high ground.
Yeah, Sneaky Bulldog finds a career, but that's a small victory for Alliance. I like how the Alchemist, even at this stage, buys the gem for the team. There's still a lot of room for growth, not so much directly on the Alchemist, but for buying Acceptors and things. But gem right now, very core for them, and I think recognizing that his teammates are all kind of under-farmed, he's just going to buy the gem, give it to KP, make sure they have an answer to the Invis initiation of Lotus Slark, and
Alliance, an Alchemist being selfless and saying, oh, you guys don't have any gold. I'm terribly sorry. I do apologize. Here, take a gem.
At 31 minutes too. Normally this doesn't come till much later on, but Moo has been an absolute star this game. Done what he needs to do, and overall it's just been the Newbee game plan coming together so nicely here in the mid game.
I just realized as well, those little team pennants, they're still in the game. 65 Alliance supporters and 12 Newbee supporters watching the game.
I think it's a little bit bugged, because...
Yeah, I'm sure there are hundreds of Alliance fans watching.
Probably a few more than that.
Maybe a few thousand. Daedalus for the Ember Spirit, S4. Maybe that's the damage that they were looking for, but they're still dealing with Warcry, with Shiva's Guard, and all this armor being stacked up by Newbee, and that's another tier 2 gun, so, you know, we've on a bit of a slow start, but Newbee, they walk straight up onto the ramp again, and Moo, with How, wheeling into the tier 3. Loader, okay, take down the Sigil, look for the battle into that Alchemist, but nothing doing just yet. The Slider, oh, there we go, damage from S4.
Yeah, it gets a little bit harder now. They can't just put How on the high ground with God Strength on, because he doesn't have an Aegis, and he doesn't have BKB. He has probably picks up a BKB now, can replace his treads with that, and then they can go high ground without Aegis. Alternatively, they can play it really safe and just wait for the next Roshan. By the time Rosh is back, they get an Aegis. By that point, Alchemist has probably pulled at least one Ag Scepter, or possibly even two Ag Scepters because of how fast he farms, and Newbee's next high ground push is going to be almost impossible to defend against multiple Ag Scepters being pulled and Aegis as well. Hal's building towards what looks to be an Assault Caress, so...
12k net worth lead and a bit of an experience lead there. KP, this is the move from Alliance. They smoke up preemptively, stopping the push onto the tier 2, and they're going for more. Kaka dropping low. The TP from Bulldog secures that one. Well, Moo actually trapped in place, held in with the Sprout, but How, he joins the fight. He slams one. He's taking him instantly out of the game while Loda looking for the Chuantress, but Moo has the concoction. Oh, very close. The pounce over the high grounds will allow Loda to escape, but Newbee gonna catch Bulldog. S4 says not today.
Some great defensive play there from Alliance, not allowing themselves to lose anyone, although...
It's not over just yet. Loda, this guerrilla warfare, he's stacking up the Essence Shift moves, looking for the concoction back, but he's popped himself into invisibility. The Lincoln Sphere's there as well, while How is actually dropping here as well. Loda, the Slark, I don't know how many Essence Shift stacks he's got up, but he's got a hell of a lot with a double kill now for him. Loda finds a nice fair few, and Moo tries to TP out. The stun, where is it? No, S4. Very nearly.
Bit unlucky there for S4 with the Searing Chains. Loda ends up with 90 Agi, 30 Essence Shift drops.
Oh, wow.
That is the... You can see why they picked Slark this game. Into the tanky cores of the Sven, the Alchemist pick came later. It's absolutely fantastic if you're staying alive, and that's what the IO gives you, a ton of sustain for the Slark on the front line. So, long drawn-out fights will go very well for Alliance, assuming it's the Slark staying alive in those long drawn-out fights. That's exactly what we see there. How struggling to kind of hold his own once he gets locked down in place and has a Slark on top of him.
Oh man, you just look at the potency of that. Double attack out from the Echo Saber. Loda still actually trying to battle into this one. Yeah, he does. 27 stacks are still up and available. Moo, oh my god, you're going to concoct yourself the Hex. He's trapped. He's stunned. That ultimate still keeping healed up though as Loda looks to pounce back onto him. This Alchemist, he's losing so much stats. 42 stacks up on this Loda's lock now. Still pummeling into Team Newbee, but he's on the high ground. There's the Daedalus hit. The damage out from S4, and Loda retreats for now. Looks for the heal. S4, Sprout again from Bulldog, but Loda dropping low over on the sidelines. Well, S4 returns into the team fight and goes back into Moo. This guy, he's dropping low in the Hex. Bulldog holds things out a little bit longer. The concoction not going to land on 21 from Alliance. They turn back with How. Bulldog, there we go. Taken out. The Sven finally brings things back into the hands of Newbee, and they're not done. They want to keep chasing a good cancel out the TP, but this Alchemist, even with all of those stats stolen out by Loda, he just never stops chopping through people. Guns for show, nice for a pro, says Mo.
Loda's got a gem. How can't just invis away?
Oh, can they concoct him? Manta blocks him up, and he'll slow him down as well. Moo!
What a play with the Manta block. Oh, that was sick from Moo's Alchemist. How has had a bit of an iffy game sometimes when he's gotten too aggressive. It's part of the problem with going... He actually sells his Shadow Blade now. I really like that decision from Hal. Recognizing that he's just not... He got value from the item when it got him a pick-off or two on the Ember Spirit, but now that we're in the late game, now that there's a gem on the side of Alliance, you're better off having like an AC BKB or even a Blink Dagger becomes more important now, so... He replaces it. He can also... Oh, better than both of those is an Aegis. So they're going to be hoping for a Roshan respawn sometime in the close future. Problem is, it's a very almost max respawn coming out from the timer there.
Now, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you could shed some light on why Hao has sold his Shadowblade and not his treads.
That I don't have the best answer to. I think there's
Attack
definitely value in Shadowblade. Shadowblade itself giving you some attack speed. But I think the Shadowblade is a very replaceable item here in the late game, but over the treads, perhaps some oversight coming out from Hao.
It's just a little min-maxing. If Purge was here, we'd say he's switching treads all the time for the int and the agi to get his stuns out, and you know all of that stuff. But I don't know. It's an odd one for me.
Yeah, I think ideally for him, he gets Aegis plus BKB or Aegis plus Blink Dagger, depending which way he wants to go. And Alliance Scan does scout heroes right outside the Roche pit. They're not inside, though, and that may actually throw Alliance off. Alliance have no vision out on the map. Bulldog actually TPs himself top, and he's got the Blink Hex, so the initiation potential is there. All right, Moo, who gets the Ags?
Enchantress, I'm guessing. I mean, Sven could be good, but Chuan, he does get that Aghanim's upgrade for him, and Chuan, like you were saying earlier, these supports over on Newbee. Now, Chuan's got a decent amount of farm. He's actually overtaken the Batrider now, thanks to that Aghanim's buffing up his net worth, but they were very poor previously.
Yeah, and Newbee don't want to take this too ultra late game. They had this greedy farming lineup to get them to where they are now, but the Alchemist is effectively close to capped out. Similar story for the Sven. He's got the... Okay, so he does go the Blink Dagger, which is why he sells the Shadowblade to get the Blink now, and then the Treads will kind of be replaced to pick up the Aegis later on.
While Alliance, they've got a lot more room, a lot more leeway.
Yeah. You've got Ember, who has, what, 3 empty item slots still. Slark, who is a bit limited on item slots. He wants to hold that gem. Kind of has like maybe 1 item slot. Bulldog, he's got an item slot or 2, so there's a lot of room for Alliance to grow.
If only they could give an axe to the Witch Doctor Loader. Oh, he does scout them out there. The Blink Lasso onto S4, though. The damage is good in the Ember.
He's got a Remnant down. He could come back into this fight if Newbee overextends.
How long does that one last, though? Not too sure. Roshan is dropping incredibly quickly, and Alliance considering fighting into this one. They buy back. You're right, Gods. S4 wants to return into this, and now the high ground advantage, it belongs to Alliance. They have the strategic movement here, and the stun from Hao. Oh, the good Hex from Bulldog. They save the Nature's Prophet for now at the very least. Makaka dropping low. The Hex back into the Sven with the chains as well. As Loader pounces, but misses his target of the Tusk. Where's S4? He brought back into this. He's got to make damn sure he doesn't die. The chains will keep him alive for now, but he's still... Oh, he dodges out! The stun will not land, but his Remnant is very far away. Tries to get himself back in the fight while Loader is trying to get through onto Kaka. KP dropping low as well. The stacks are building up for Loader, while Moo just runs through rampant into the ranks of Alliance. But S4 as well as Loader is still alive. Is that a buyback from Bulldog? Damn right it is. Comes into the fight again and looks for the Alk, but still S4 needs to acquire a target. And keep this fight going while Newbee and Alliance just completely battling it out for a good minute there.
The kiting from Newbee is just so on point. They're not letting Loader get the stacks up. He gets up to 17 essence charges.
Look at where Hao is. Look at where Hao is. He's coming in from the back end as well. Alliance have no idea, and Arcane just cleave through into Oblivion while Bulldog this buyback. Bolivia dieback, they're flying over the top. The force damage there. The damage not quite. Chuan tries, and they get the Alchemist. Alliance, finally a break for them. But can they get anything more?
Hao blinks in to kill.
Oh, he's got the cleave as well, but Hao cannot stand up against Loader's Slark.
These two teams just brawling time and time again. These team fights are just so even. Alliance had to expend 3 buybacks to make it happen, though. Ember, Nature's Prophet, and Io all having to buy back in the game, but if they get a Roshan out of this, it's definitely worth it. But here come Newbee with their buyback.
Oh man, they don't want to give this Roshan up. Loader, 37 stacks up. He's got, what, 350 odd damage, 370 damage. He's got plenty.
111 stolen agi. It started off slow for him, but towards the end of the fight, he just got a huge amount of
Roshan's very nearly dead. Loader, oh, he wanted to kill that off, but he's low. He's half HP. Pops the Shadow Dance, turns on the Kaka, nearly kills him off, and does! Finds the pick. Well, Roshan looks like it belongs to Newbee, and they'll get the Aegis onto it. The Enchantress for Chuan and Alliance, they were inches away from securing Aegis for themselves. And they're going to get EGM.
Yep. Comes back in, and after the relocate out, gets blown up. Still, it's not the Sven who getting the Aegis who would be the ideal candidate for Newbee, and we're starting to see the limitations of Hao's builds in these fights. He's not able to hold up head-to-head with the Slark very well. He's also just not really got the ideal super late game items. The Battle Fury's like, okay, you need against the Sprout, Echo Save, but not exactly the ideal item to have at this stage of the game. Other than the Assault Turret and the Blink Dagger, he hasn't really got the kind of items you'd want to see on a Sven at 40+ minutes in.
it's that weird little spot where, you know, where they were farming for 25, 30 minutes or so, and you know, we thought, okay, this is the late game push, but they itemized quite well for early game. You know, this Sven, he does still have to swap out the treads.
Yeah, they were really looking for that 30-minute timing where they have the 6-slotted Alchemist, they push high ground with Aegis, and it worked. They got one lane of racks, but then Alliance have held on since then and really taken things later where it gets really kind of hard to push high ground ever against the Ember Spirit. He kites around so well. The Slark is also really problematic to deal with at this stage of the game. Imagine we'll have to see maybe a few more Aghanim Scepters pulled before Newbee trying to approach another fight, but these are not amazing upgrades.
These are not game-changing upgrades.
Yeah.
It's not a Death Ward. It's not a Static Storm. It's nothing like that. God Strength, yeah, we can see Wepass. It does buff up damage with that nice little AoE, but I'm not sure if Mu will be thinking about that one. It's not really an ordinary one. It's not a normal Ags upgrade to go for. But the Skadi back on Mu, he picked that up, you know, 7-8 minutes ago or so. There's been 3 or 4 fights since then. What does the Skadi offer you that, you know, other items on the Alchemist maybe wouldn't?
It's stats, survivability, and the slow that you get out of it helps a little bit when you're fighting the Slark head-on. So it's that item which allows him to kind of man up right directly onto the Slark. Slark who goes MKB, so getting any additional evasion wasn't going to help. He's already got the armor from the Shiver's Guard, so probably the best option as far as Mu is concerned in terms of just fighting items. The possible consideration would be towards the Abyssal Blade instead when fighting the Slark.
I guess if Slark is going to steal your stats, the best thing to do is buy more stats. Make sure you can tank yourself through all of that. Alliance are actually getting further forward across this river now. Loader pushing through towards mid up at top. There's S4 just ripping himself through these creep waves. And
Alliance are just getting confident now. They can tell just with their movement on the map, they're going out, they're de-warding. They're the ones who have lots of vision right now.
It feels like Newbee have to address this. Well, I definitely do. Look at top lane. It's actually moving all the way towards this tier 3, while Newbee, we're over in the Radiant jungle thinking about maybe pushing in harder. There we go. There's the God Strength upgrade. Not the lasso, not the kick from Tusk, but actually going to be that 900 AoE God Strength.
So everyone kind of getting that bonus, what, 125? Yeah, 125% ally bonus damage around you, which means the Alchemist is effectively going to be close to doubling his right-click damage in these fights. Tusk, not exactly great on. Batrider, not great on. Enchantress, it's pretty good on, since we will be seeing this kind of right-click Enchantress as we scale it late. But Enchantress often may not be in that radius around the Sven because of her long attack range.
Oh, how does address that top lane? Shoves it out a little bit, and he's of course got the BOTs in 5 seconds time, and Newbee have reset the battlefield. Again, they're pushing forward towards Alliance's quarter, trying to find a way again to enter this base as Alliance. They did go for that sneaky little smoke move around their tier 1 up at top, just to preempt what Newbee were doing when they were approaching this area. And they might think about doing this again, because defending high ground for them, like we were saying before, they don't have big AoEs, they don't have these dragon pull abilities to maybe catch one hero and finish them off. It is going to be about maneuverability, positioning, and these slippery heroes like the Slark and Ember actually being able to enter, leave, and re-enter teamfights. A Shadow Blade up now for Nature's Prophet.
Looking just to be able to maneuver around them. It means that Nature's Prophet can be like farming, split pushing alone at top or something, and not worry about dying to the Alchemist and the Sven, because these are heroes that can't carry a gem. The gem will be on the Batrider, who has got hasn't actually got boots of travel yet, so in a lot of situations, we'll see the Shadow Blade enable Bulldog to split push more, to initiate in, and still have the blink available, so...
Batrider's been whining about the Sven getting an Axe 2 minutes ago, so Alchemist, pulls one out of his pocket and says, oh, ho, ho! Jeez. Didn't even see that one happen. EGM just evaporates.
Yikes. He's got no buyback too. It's still on cooldown for, okay, 15 seconds.
That's God Strength and BKB down for Hao, but Mu pushes up onto the high ground.
I mean, they still have it up for a little bit longer. They'll force a glyph.
They will indeed. Oh, KP very nearly got in there with the lasso onto Loader, and Hao slams into that tier 3 while Mu, he's playing recon. He's moving himself forward into Alliance to stop.
It's good damage, and they should wait for the God Strength to come back online. Even though the Eye is still dead, I think it's either you wait for the God Strength to come back up, or you wait for a clean pick-off out of your Batrider lasso. You can't just try and brute force down these Raxes without being punished by Alliance.
Nearly everyone has Ags by now. Nice little jump away. Lincoln Sphere will pop though. Nice
from the
for
back goes
Loader.
Loader.
Looks for KP. Is that a Ghost Scepter through? He turns for Kaka. Where's the snowball? He's not able to get it off just yet. Kako turns for the punch and he's kept himself alive while EGM Ghost Scepter's up. The gem is dropped and Bat is as well. With a buyback from Wisp, they turn back onto Moo. Loader. There's the bash. Actually doing a hell of a lot of damage into this Alchemist. Dropping to half HP, but he's tanking through it all. And meanwhile, Enchantress ripping through one on the side, but Moo is gone. Alliance good focus fire there. While Bulldog somehow scutters away like a little rat and hides away in his own jungle, but it's not over just yet. Is there a bash? Is there a stun? Of course there is! You've got a double procs out there from Loader with the MKB and the Basher. And S4
barely survived there as well. He managed to Shadow Blade out of the gem raid. S4 get out of top, but just barely survived. He had an Impetus following him, it looked like, and that Enchantress had the gem, but with the reduced vision from the gem, as far as the actual detection radius goes, they didn't secure the kill on Bulldog, and he didn't have buyback. So if they killed him off, that would have been a big pick-off to secure their high ground defense. And Alliance will push back the other way. Lotus has got to that stage of the game where he is just too strong.
They might just force the buyback from the Alchemist as well. 70 seconds still he's dead for. And to defend your tier 3 and racks up a top lane, Alliance, they are on the front foot now. Enchantress buys back and they might look for more as they jump in. S4, no, he remnants away. There's no catch, but Loader, he says, thank you very much, Mr. Batrider. That's Tusk Snowball saving me. Gem sprouted by Bulldog, kept alive and tethers away. Howl doesn't catch the kill, and Loader, oh, the damage is coming through out from Howl, but he jumps out. And Slark, slippery little fish he is, back to the reef.
And IO has just been such a pest this entire game. Yeah, EGM's died 8 times, but Newbee had to commit so much to actually bring him down. On top of that, Bulldog's Sprout play just to Kite Heroes has been
They can't stop it.
as well. And
They can't stop this.
they don't want to use the Alchemist buyback. They're in a position where losing one lane of racks is far from game over, and with tier 2 tower in mid and bottom, it's not worth committing a buyback to defend one lane of racks when you're this late in the game. So Newbee say, look, we want to make sure that we have an Alchemist buyback for a potential upcoming fight. Let's just settle and slow things down.
Give a little bit to Alliance, but they're not going to take a lot. On buyback status, Enchantress, of course, just spent hers, and Wisp in that previous fight used his, but now we are seeing Radiant with a lot of buybacks here. 3 of theirs, with them available. While over on the Dire, the Sven and the Bat are the only ones. And what are we seeing now from Bulldog? Shadow Blade still up, but
Probably just has to hold buyback. You've regained control of this game. If you're Alliance, you kind of hold on to it by just making sure any fights you take, you're always going to have that buyback potential because you've got Nature's Prophet TP, you've got Boots of Travel, you've got Relocate. Having buyback is just so valuable for this Alliance squad.
How with the Daedalus replacing his treads?
Yes.
Was that replacing the Echo Saber actually? Because the BKB replaced
yeah,
treads.
he sold the Echo Saber to make sure he had money for Daedalus with the with buyback.
Buyback. Okay.
So this is, I mean, he's got everything you can hope for other than a Moonshot at this point. You can't really upgrade from the Battlefield. I think the Sprout has just been too strong in these team fights. Even last time with a Battlefield, he still couldn't get himself inside to bring down the IO.
This swing for Alliance, about a 10k net worth swing so far over the past 3 or 4 minutes, and experience, you know. Not a massive swing, just the fact that it is in their favor now, and that's the full Abyssal Blade for Loader. Great way to lock down not only the Sven through BKB, but also the Tusk and the Batrider, who have been saving people and have been kind of keeping these team fights going for Newbee.
And we're starting to see some of the downsides of like having these 2 really greedy farmed carries. KP just doesn't have the items to engage in these fights. If he had a BKB, it's a lot easier for him to initiate in. Instead, he's getting caught in a Searing Chains, a cast, and these things make it that much more difficult to approach fights if you're Newbee. Batrider just had to go for all these cheap, cost-effective items like a Ghost Scepter just to keep himself alive against the Slark.
Team Newbee. Nice tournament, as well as the Manila Major coming up. Going to be incredibly important for their run towards TI. Of course, our qualifiers for ASL Frankfurt are going on right now, so they won't be able to attend that tournament. But against Alliance here, it's important because they'll be meeting up later on this year at Manila themselves, won't they? Try and assert your dominance over one of your competitors at an early stage. Make sure, prove your worth. Loader and Ake.
See Roche back up. Newbee have eyes on it with the Enchantress creep. For the Radiant side, they can use Treants to scout it out if they haven't seen it already. And in the neighborhood is Loader. Scouted out by a Dire Sentry.
S4 is so good at clearing out these creep waves, though. He's It's been interesting to see this, because usually we see Bulldog in this kind of position where he's the lone druid, he's the split farmer, the split pusher, controlling waves and causing a little bit of a nuisance, you know, for the enemy team over on the opposite side of the map while everyone else is grouping up and fighting. But it's S4 and Bulldog and Loader all doing it on all 3 lanes, so Newbee, they're being dragged a little bit from pillar to post here, trying to address and deal with what Alliance are throwing at them, while Loader's actually going to go look for a solo kill on someone. Dives in through the dire jungle.
Not going to find much at this stage, unfortunately, for him.
Newbee very focused on this Roche pit.
Oh, yeah.
Very focused around this side of the map.
And they're kind of drawing on the map to make the same move they did last time, which was just smoke and go for that wraparound play.
They see the TP of S4. Ember Spirit. And what's the jump potential here with the Lincoln Sphere? I guess they try and blink Force Last. Oh, no, 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 no. S4's too quick for you.
Potential's there, but it's very small. Like, because you have to break his Lincolns before the lasso with the Force Staff, S4, unless he's just caught sleeping at the wheel, is not going to let himself get lassoed there. But it probably does secure Newbee Roche. We'll see, though. Loader has already TP'd in towards this direction, and again, the global presence is something that Newbee have to be very respectful of.
How long until Bulldog can TP? Roshan, it doesn't matter. He's already dead. The TP was available from Bulldog, but they'll give up the Aegis and the Cheese and try and push into tier 3 towards the middle lane. Looks like Alliance don't really care too much. Roshan's taken out by Newbee, at least for now. I just want map control and domination of these lanes. Concoction. Hey! S4, you cheeky little devil. Sleight of fist to dodge it. Well played.
Curious to see if S4 commits to the Rapier at this stage. He's got the one defensive item he needs in the Lincoln Sphere. Ideally, you either go Rapier or MKB at this stage. Possible consideration towards a second Daedalus, but we'll find out. Here we go. The crowd wanted. I can hear him chanting. I'm pretty sure they're saying Rapier. And it comes.
They want the aliens to have the Rapier. And now they've got it. S4 pulls out the big guns here against Newbee. That's going to give them maybe the damage they need with the Daedalus on top of it. You know, heroes like Enchantress, like Batrider, even the Tusk to some extent, could just get one hit through the Slight. And now you're seeing this Alchemist. He's been 6-slotted for a long old time. I think he spent a bit of his money. I'm not sure when he's going to be looking to swap in or out. Is there anything you look at, like there's BOTs too he could buy, but is there anything you want him to swap out for a better item to pick up?
Not particularly. The one item you consider is the Abyssal Blade still, I think.
Instead of Manta?
Manta's just so good. Manta's not about the farming at this stage of the game. It's about keeping the lanes pushed out so you're pressuring Alliance, keeping them on their side of the map. So I think that Manta has a ton of value here in the late game.
To get out of steering chains and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very important, because he doesn't have that BKB, doesn't have that safety net. KP, he has the Aegis and he's trying to get the vision. The Loader is not the target he wants to go for until maybe now.
It's really hard because both the two cores in the front lines, the Slark and the Ember, both have Lincoln Spheres. So because you have to break the Lincolns before you lasso them, both these heroes can react. The second they see their Lincolns broke, Loader, he can pop a Shadow Dance. He can just go invis. There's so many ways for him to escape. And then S4's got the obvious Fire Remnant away anytime he's going to get blinked on. So makes life very difficult. And there's no fantastic long-range Lincoln's break on the side of Newbee.
It's picking up now, Vlad's high ground item, if I've ever seen one.
For the Tusk, yeah. He's been building it for a while, but Kaka incredibly poor. He's been kind of low impact this game. He's just been that defensive
Bulldog
support
at
in a lot of position.
How blinks in and Bulldog blinks out.
I'm sure he had a good giggle about that one in the booth.
He nearly got me. He nearly got me. Newbee. They do have all lanes pushing in though, and Alliance hemmed back in their own base, but you look at that. One little sleight of fist and Mood does drop. About 10% of his HP. It's a good chunk of the damage. It's just sustaining it through, and yeah, there we go. A nice little crit back onto Hal with a cleave through.
I think it's a good approach to take for Newbee. It's just like really test the waters, chip away at it as cautiously as possible. Try and force that glyph out as well, because if you can get them to waste a glyph and then catch them out of position, suddenly you're on their high ground with a Sven Alchemist taking a lane of Rax. Even if you like lose a Sven or an Alchemist to take a lane of Rax, it's okay at this stage of the game, assuming they have buyback. You just want to slowly whittle away as much as possible at the Alliance base. Spam out the Manta style and Alchemist just to send it onto the building, send it at the range Rax since that damage won't be healed up, and well, we'll see him try. It's not going to do a whole lot of damage, but better than nothing.
They're keeping Bulldog and S4 away from these side lanes though, by actually pushing them in. making sure there is no split push shenanigans going on, apart from a few little treants up at top. You know, they're doing a decent job. Bulldog's got his little army out.
He wants to be back to defend, though. We see him there, like, just sprouting up the range racks to prevent the Alchemist being able to attack it. So just this, all the small things Alliance is doing right at the moment.
Do not give Newbee an inch. Well, Moo, the real Alchemist, he does push forward onto the racks, but in comes Loda. Sleight of Fist is there as well, but Cask bouncing back between KP as well as Kaka. Again with a Sleight of Fist, and Loda jumps forward with the Abyssal Blade onto Kaka. Tusk is dead, but How wants EGM, and he'll get him as well. How finds the Wisp and now looks for the Slark as well, and got the lasso onto him. KP nearly drops very, very fast to that Sleight of Fist, but they're not going to be able to find the kill. Loda turns back with one swipe of his nice little dagger. Moo is left alone to his own devices. He doesn't really have a team to follow him up. Juan still very far away, but Moo trying to deal with Arke, pushes himself out of the Sprout. But Arke just dies to illusions as he hasn't got a way to get out of the trees himself, while Loda, no! Gets 4! The Slark! Moo looked like he was alone, but Loda went in.
Still a buyback and still Glyph up on the side of Alliance. And S4's Rapier, so good at defending the high ground, makes this a bit of a scary push to go for.
Top lane.
And yeah, How will TP back.
You have to.
You force out Loda's buyback. If anything, this is the time where you just reset, wait for the Tusk. Yes, the Tusk isn't really a high impact hero in these fights, but one snowball save could be all the difference. It could allow like a Sven who's in trouble to get snowballed, buy him some time, and then blink back to safety. So it does give you some utility in these ultra late game fights, and Newbee will at least wait for him, reset the lanes a bit, and then probably try and make a play before Loda has buyback once again. Bulldog's hunting, by the way. Has got the relocate to back him up.
How? Hex into Sprout, the relocate is coming through. It's EGM.
They changed their mind halfway through there. You can really see the communication going on in Alliance. Like the Bulldog's like, okay, I caught one with a Hex. Problem was the Hex was as he was going from low ground to high ground, and then EGM was already committing the relocate, and then the call from Loda or S4 was like, no, don't go. Especially Loda, who's like, I don't have buyback. If you relocate me in and I die, we lose the game there. So
we've got
really good call from Alliance there not to commit. And they even get EGM out there despite him using the relocate.
For a second, I thought Alchemist would give himself an axe before giving it to Tusk, but he does hand it over.
We get some kick action.
We might just see some kick action, yeah, gods. I mean, there's a moonshot over on Moo, so he's like, yeah, well, I don't really have anything else to buy. I've got no one else to give stuff to, so this money may as well go to the Tusk. You know, your Aghanim's upgrades not that great. There's double lasso. EGM's caught with Loda as well. They're going to try and turn this through with How! The damage onto Slug. There's no buyback on Loda. And Newbee might just have done it with that one move by KP. Into the racks they go, and How just slams these buildings down, demolishes through Alliance's base.
Well, as we wrap up game number 1, the warding there, they drop the ward on the high ground, and that sets up everything. KP on the Batrider gets that great initiation off purely because of the vision that they were given, and Alliance will now be up against Mega Creeps, and I imagine we'll just see their throne go down. Without the Slug IO, there is just no way for them to defend here, it feels like.
S4, your Amber Spirit has been pretty spectacular all game long, but you've got to show us the money now. Defending almost 1v5, you can try and rely on Arke, you can try and rely on Bulldog, but this Ember Spirit, he's the one that has to try and hold back the hordes of Newbee. As Moo into the throne they go. Alliance not going to give up just yet. Arke drops incredibly low. The Glimmer Cape will save him while the damage from S4 looks good, but Alliance, the tank is empty. And honestly, S4 doesn't really have a leg to stand on as he wanders himself back into his fountain, and Newbee, it looks like they've done it. Taking down the Ancient, moves on a killing spree. And game number 1 with another double lasso to secure things off. GG is called, Alliance tap out, and Newbee take game 1 in this best of 3.
It became so interesting once we got to that ultra late game scenario, because for the entire early to mid game, it was a game of economy. Newbee out-farming Alliance. Newbee hitting this timing where they were so farmed with Alchemist 6 on Aegis, they just took a racks. But once Alliance held on, we got to this late game where it was no longer about items. Who was more farmed than who? It was entirely about who got the better initiation. Can KP ever find the lasso? And it took him almost 60 minutes, but he finally found that perfect 2-hero